Hey Doc, it's Chris Burfield and welcome to the Chiropractic Underground's Q&A session where I let you ask me any practice building question your big heart desires. Yes, any question in the entire world. And today we have an excellent question from none other than the Jerusalem chiropractor, Dr. Isaac. So Dr. Isaac, thank you for writing in. I really appreciate it. It's a great question, and I know this question and the answer to it is going to help a lot of chiropractors that are in the exact same boat as you. So here's what Dr. Isaac asks. He asks, I'm good at getting them out of pain, but I don't know how to take them beyond that for long-term maintenance. Great question. Dr. Isaac, it all goes back to patient education. And that education starts on the very first phone call. And it really starts to hit heavy during the new patient consultation and exam. So when the patient comes into the office and they're sitting there in front of you and you're doing your consultation and you're gathering information on them, during the exam process, you want to start educating them about chiropractic. So you want to pre-frame what a subluxation is before you begin your exam so they know exactly what you're looking for. And you want to educate them on the three major causes of subluxation, which is emotional or autosuggestion stresses, physical stresses, and chemical stresses. Now, when I'm educating them on these stresses, I usually start with the physical stress. And I let them know that there's actually two forms of physical stress. There are what I call microtraumas, meaning small, tiny little traumas, and macrotraumas, which is big traumas. And then I give them some examples. So, Dr. Isaac, so we'll pretend that you're the patient. Dr. Isaac, there are three major causes of subluxations. And that is physical traumas, chemical stresses, and emotional stresses. I don't ever say autosuggestion. They don't understand that. Emotional stresses. Let's start with physical stresses. There are two forms of physical stresses. There are what I call micro, which is small, tiny little traumas, and then there are macro or big traumas. So let's start with the micro, the small traumas. What are some small traumas that can cause subluxation? Well, things like sleeping poorly at night, sitting at a desk all day, hunched over, looking at a computer screen. Do you do that? Do you sit at a desk all day at work? Oh yeah, I sit at a desk all day. Yeah, well, that can cause subluxation, that poor posture, or maybe hovering over a microphone and talking into it for a few hours every night, answering questions. So this isn't doing anything good for my spine right now. So, but anyway, I need to be sitting more upright. But those are some micro traumas. Also, Dr. Isaac, things like as from a baby, from the time you were a little baby learning how to walk, you would stand up and fall down and stand up and fall down and stand up and fall down and stand up and fall down. And I would actually do that with them. I would actually raise my hands and drop them on the table. And I would sink or anchor those words in. Stand up, fall down. Stand up, fall down. Now, when I go back to ask them in the future what physical stresses, what micro or what small, tiny stresses can cause subluxation, they might not remember poor posture at their desk. They might not remember that sleeping poorly and poor positions can cause subluxations. But I promise you, they're going to remember as a baby learning to walk, stand up, and fall down. And what that does is it makes them realize that they've probably had subluxations for a long time, from the time of their childhood. And of course, if they're 35 years old and they've had these subluxations possibly since they were, a baby, it's not going to be fixed overnight, sort of thing. And I know you're saying like, hey, I get them out of pain pretty quick, but I think part of the issue might be that you're thinking in terms, you're talking about moving them into maintenance care, which I get adjusted 52 times a year, once a week for my wellness. I call it wellness care. 52 times a year for wellness. So I know that you're trying to get them out of pain and you're doing a really good job of that. But I think because your model is based on pain, they're thinking that as soon as they're out of pain, they're done. So you're going to need to educate a lot, because with the type of practice that I had, we focused more on correction. So even though they were out of pain, they were still getting adjusted 3 times a week. That was just the type of model, that type of practice that we had. I'm not telling you to change your model, but you're going to need to do a lot of education, because you're going to have a smaller time frame to do it in. You know, if I recommended 45 visits or 36 visits or 28 visits over the course of, 90 days, I've got a lot of time to educate that patient. It sounds like you don't have a lot of time, so you're going to need to make your education count. So those are things that I would do to help anchor in that education. When I would talk about big traumas, I would say big traumas would be things like car accidents, or maybe you're playing soccer. Maybe you played soccer in high school. Did you play soccer? Yeah, I played soccer. Okay. So you're playing soccer in high school. You're running across the field. Another guy's running across the field, and all of a sudden, bam, you slam into one another. Right? Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever collided with someone else on the field? Oh, yeah, plenty of times. Okay. Well, that collision can cause a subluxation. So now, again, I'm anchoring that in, right? Getting them to remember. And then, of course, I would talk about chemical stresses, foods, too much alcohol, cigarette smoke, that sort of thing. And then emotional traumas, which are things like, a death in the family, stress from work, driving in rush hour traffic, getting stressed out, those sorts of things, all the emotional stuff. So once they've gone through that, during the report of findings, we reiterate all that stuff again. And then as they're coming in and getting adjusted, we're table talking them, and we're getting them to think about all that stuff again. So one of the ways that we would do it is we would get them to think more of a wellness model, and not just in a pain-based model. We'd put our hands on them as we were palpating, and take the thumb and press it on the spinal bone and really dig in. And the reason we use the thumb is because you can get a lot of leverage there, right? So really dig in on their spine and say, Mike, do you feel that right there where my thumb is on your spinal bone? Yeah, sure do, doc. Yeah, it's pretty tender. Okay, Mike, well, the reason that's tender is because this bone is out of alignment and putting pressure on the nerve, and it's interfering with the way your brain is communicating to the muscles in your low back. And that's why you're having low back pain. Okay, doc, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Mike, do you remember what that's called, what that pressure, that bone out of alignment, putting pressure on the nerve is called? No, not really, doc. Okay, well, it's called a subluxation. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, well, say it with me. Subluxation. Okay, great. So, Mike, quick question. If these nerves that go to your low back muscles, if the bone's putting pressure on the nerve causing low back pain, where else do you think these nerves go in your body? I don't know, doc. Well, what do your nerves control? It controls everything. Yeah, so all these nerves here in the low back, guess where else they go? They also go to organs in the lower part of your body. Oh, okay. So tell me the name of some organs in and around your stomach area, between your low back and your stomach. Your stomach? Yeah, your stomach. What else? Your intestines? Yes. What else? Your liver? Yep. What else? Geez, doc, I don't really know. How about your appendix? Oh, yeah, your appendix. How about your kidneys? Oh, yeah, my kidneys. So you're getting them to say the names of these organs, and then say, so if your brain's not communicating, if the same nerves that go to your low back are also going to your organs, and your brain is not properly communicating with the muscles in your low back, how well are your nerves communicating with the organs in your body if it's the same nerves? Well, geez, doc, I never really thought about that. Yeah, well, how well do you think they're working? Well, not very well. Yeah. See, Mike, chiropractic is so much bigger than just getting you out of pain. Chiropractic is about keeping you well and keeping not only your low back muscles working properly, but keeping all your organs functioning well as well. So do you see how chiropractic could be used to help keep your body in tip-top shape and in optimal health? Yeah, I can see that. Okay, great. Well, let's get your power turned on. It's just an education process. You've got to constantly educate them. So that's all it boils down to, Doc. Start educating. You may possibly think about, it sounds like you're doing more of a relief care model. And if you're talking pain all the time to the patients, that's all they're going to be concerned about is pain. You need to talk about their pain on the first day, and then during the report of findings, let them know what your goals are, where you want to take them, where you want to take their health, and set long-term goals, not just to get them out of pain, but ask them, where would you like to be health-wise a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? What are your long-term healthcare goals? Would you like to, just for me to get you out of pain? Or would you like to entertain the idea of living a life filled with wellness? And just ask them. So, but you got to start talking more wellness versus talking pain to them. So anyway, hope that helps. Dr. Isaac, thanks again for your question. I appreciate you being a loyal subscriber. And in the meantime, keep saving lives.